All right, good morning, everybody. It is November 10th. It is Thursday morning. It is nice and early at 4:26 a.m. I'm going to wrap things up here. Of course, if you've liked the videos along the way, be sure to click the like button, the subscribe button, and get the notifications. And hopefully this will be the last notification that you get, because hopefully this is the last storm. This is certainly the last video I'm going to do on Nicole. Typically in TV, we had a thing where what we would do is basically the weather was the story until the pictures started coming in from the storm doing something, and then once the pictures started coming in, basically the weather's over in terms of the weather presentation, except to just kind of clean things up, and that's what I'm going to do here this morning. So let's get right to it, because you guys can find the picture in other places, and there's going to be lots of pictures out there. I'm not going to cover in terms of where the damage was and the storm surge and things like that. I've seen lots of reports. Lots of gusty winds out there, that's for sure. But as expected, as I kept saying, this was not going to be a Category 2, and it didn't move any more southwest after it turned to the northwest. So I think we're feeling better about the situation. For those of you in Broward who didn't put your shutters up, I think you think that was the right idea. In Palm Beach, those who did put the shutters up, you're probably thinking, oh, that wasn't a bad idea either, because it's certainly been windy overnight tonight. All right, so let's get to the 4 a.m. coordinates for Nicole, back down to tropical storm strength now with the winds under 75 miles an hour. It was only there for about 12 hours or so at a hurricane strength, and just barely at hurricane strength. It never really took off there. Moving now west-northwest at 14 in the pressure. It's been steady. It never really plummeted, which means that it never really got stronger. And I'll show you on the satellite loop here in just a second that it never really got that much better organized. It was fighting with the environment quite a bit. So 25 miles to the northwest of Vero Beach. It is moving to the west-northwest. And there's the kind of the track, and I'll show you kind of a close-up of this. There was this one jog a couple nights ago to the south, and then it was basically west, and then a jog to the northwest, and that got that movement going there, and kind of almost some wobbles to the northwest. Nicole seemed to, whenever it made a turn, it did it with pretty deliberate intensity. Some storms, they're just a gradual bend. Some storms are like, well, boom, they turn, and like somebody steering the steering wheel of a car, making big swings of the steering wheel. So the yellow area, kind of the approximation of the tropical storm conditions. That's more true over the water than it is over the land. With this graphic here, and now some tropical storm conditions into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. There's the cone, and there's not much to it. So there we are at 1 p.m. this afternoon, and then on to the north, 1 a.m. overnight tonight, and then that is it. Nicole is forecast to then be absorbed by a low pressure area or by a front, and we're done with Nicole. So literally, in about 36 hours, we are done with Nicole, and no more Nicole as we go into the weekend, and we can say goodbye to that. And once again, hopefully goodbye to hurricane season. This morning, only tropical storm warnings remain in effect. All the hurricane warnings have been dropped. There's no more watches in effect. It's just the leftovers, kind of as the case may be. These areas are seeing tropical storm conditions, and those are going to continue to slowly abate as we go through the day, but it's still going to be blowing pretty good, but no more hurricane winds. Could we see some hurricane wind gusts, especially just north of where the center is. The storm made landfall last night at 3 a.m. on North Hutchinson Island, just north of Jensen Beach, and that is very, very close to 2004, where Jean and Francis made landfall. Pretty amazing. I'll have to do a graphic on that and post it a little bit later today. There you go. There are the storm surge warnings right now. They remain. Storm surge flooding continues to be a problem also on the Gulf side and the northeast part of the Gulf of Mexico. There's the satellite loop, and you can see what's starting to happen now is that as soon as the center made landfall there, as soon as Nicole came on shore, the eye began to fill in right away. That's kind of a sign also that it's not a terribly resilient tropical cyclone. Sometimes the eye will persist for a while longer or stay cleared out there, and it didn't. As soon as it got on shore, you can see the eye just pretty much filled in there very quickly. A couple of areas of concern, it's going to be the flood conditions. There's a very, very heavy rainfall here running Port Charlotte area, Fort Myers, the area that received the damage, from Ian, and so now there's an increasing flood threat. This is going to put some pressure on Lake Okeechobee too, which is already running high because now we're kind of refilling all of the canals, all of the rivers to the north in the Kissimmee River chain of lakes here. And so this is not a good situation in terms of a rainfall event. Not good at all. Let's kind of zoom in there. There's that track, and there are those little jogs there, the ones that went to the first one that was a couple nights ago, and then kind of to the west-southwest, a little bit of jogs here, and then that jog up, and kind of to the west, a jog again. And that's kind of been the whole story here, these jogs, as I mentioned. A little radar tour from north to south. You can see not a lot of rain in Jacksonville this morning. Some of the showers coming there into St. Augustine, but the wind's blowing good. I'll show you that in a second. Daytona Beach also getting some heavier rain now and on down through Titusville as well. And the Cape there, Orlando getting very heavy rains, and these showers kind of extending on over to the west coast there. Tampa Bay area certainly getting some rain. And you can see that the southern edge here is in Palm Beach County. So not that much rain going on here into Palm Beach County. That's about the southern extent of it there. In fact, as I go to the south here, there you can see for Miami-Dade and Broward, we just didn't get a lot out of it. We were just on the far south edge of pretty much the whole rain event the whole time. Got a little bit, got some showers to come through, about a half an inch of rain in western Broward here at my place. But the big rainfall amounts, unfortunately, are going to be over here where they don't need more rain along the Peace River there, where Arcadia was flooded from the rain from Ian. Here's a look at the winds. There's the satellite first, and you can see this is a 12-hour loop. And as I said last night, that doesn't look like a hurricane from the satellite perspective. It looked like kind of a messy tropical storm. You could see for a time there was even, and some of the storm chasers were reporting being able to see the moon as the storm was coming ashore. And that's kind of it was a little bit cleared out there for a little while, and some holes there where the eye was. Never really had a very pronounced satellite eye, and the biggest storms, these real big storms here, kind of racing to the north in this feeder band out into the Atlantic, so no problems there. But once again, kind of a sloppy looking storm there. All right, here's the winds, and the strongest winds. It's still really blowing up and down the coast here, especially offshore, Carolinas, Georgia, and it's what we call this really long fetch. And a fetch is the area, the length of the area over water where if the wind persists, it can develop these big waves, and that has been the case there offshore, which has brought really, really big surf to the coast and done a lot of damage. So it's not only been the combination of the storm itself, of Nicole, but just the pressure difference between Nicole and high pressure over the southeast U.S. that's created this really, really big fetch here and created those strong winds. Going on down, here's our strongest winds, of course. Just near Daytona, winds gusting near 60 miles an hour, but right around the Cape, of course, where the Artemis rocket is sitting on the launch pad, I saw a report of a gust to 88 miles an hour. NASA said it would be good for gusts through 85. I guess we'll see. And personally, I don't know why they brought it back out on the pad in the first place, because the storm was already out there, forecast to develop and come towards Florida. That being said, 74-mile-an-hour wind gust was reported from this buoy here that is about 20 miles to the east of Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral there, and we've seen some really strong wind gusts right in that area as well. So let's zoom out and kind of work our way south. You can see inland, some wind gusts in the Orlando area over 50 miles an hour, as well as Sanford there, 53 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. So it's definitely blowing, and there's going to be some power outages along that track there. And then even in the eastern Gulf, and look at Clearwater Beach there, winds of 44, 45 miles an hour blowing out of the north. So as the storm continues to move on up to the north, as the storm gets over here, these winds are going to turn onshore, and that's going to cause some storm surge flooding along the west coast, especially basically Pasco County, which is right there and north. So that's going to be kind of an issue as well. Storm surge flooding in the Big Bend area and on the Florida west coast, mainly north of Tampa Bay. On down to the south, you can see winds south of the center there in the track. They're in the 20 to 40 mile an hour range, 30 to 40 mile an hour range. We really never saw kind of the higher gusts because we really never got any squalls on the south side. I'll show you in a second on the satellite water vapor loop. The dry air just really eroded the south side, but basically 20 to 30 miles an hour. Going to be a windy morning. It's going to be windy much of the day in here, finally in far south Florida. You can see the winds not that bad, just kind of a breezy morning there. That's kind of a picture of the things going on there. There's the water vapor loop, and you can see this. Wow, look at that red right there. The sun is going to come out when the sun comes up here in the Keys and over Miami-Dade and Broward, and it's going to be sunny in Palm Beaches by mid-morning, if not early this morning, once the sun comes up, and the sun is going to kind of work its way up because this dry air is kind of wrapping into the circulation, and so it's going to erode the moisture and the cloud cover and allow for this thing to pretty much be gone by later this morning. So that's kind of the water vapor loop there, and there's the track, kind of a little bit longer track. You can see there's where it started, heading to the northeast, kind of reforming there, just brushing Puerto Rico, and then this was just kind of as a disturbance, then it became a tropical storm, and then it became a hurricane right there for that little patch right there. So kind of an interesting situation, a storm moving south of west, which you don't really want to see. That's always kind of a bit of a cautious situation. Storms that move south of west can sometimes really intensify. This one didn't, thankfully, and sometimes storms south of west also, they're just unusual. They don't usually move south of west unless there's a big high to the north, and that was what we saw with this one. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I appreciate at least one Howard in the chat there, kind of keeping me company here. So once again, thanks for watching, and as always, if you like the videos, be sure to click the like button, subscribe, and get the notifications. And hopefully, once again, all of my videos for at least the rest of the year into early 2023 will just be kind of like weather videos and not storm videos. Okay? Thanks for watching.